Hey guys, it's Jackie. Welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would do something that is totally different than the rest of my content just because I've been sick for 2 weeks. And as I'm sure you probably know, now is a very scary time to be sick with a respiratory illness. I was tested for COVID-19 and I did just get results back that I am negative, I'm very happy to say. But the last 2 weeks I've been kind of just laid flat with a series of very terrible viral infections. Thankfully, none of them COVID-19, so which is really good news. I feel very, very relieved that I don't have that. But obviously, it's kind of put a delay in my shooting schedule and my editing schedule, and being so sick also meant that I didn't get to finish up all of the books I had intended to read for Bookathon in February. I do still want to do a February wrap-up. It's going to be like February wrap-up in late March, which is really terrible. I've just been, like everybody in the United States right now and the rest of the world, just kind of struggling to just keep my head above water with all of the things that are going on and all the radical changes that are going on to our daily lives. So I do want to still get some kind of review video up for Blackathon. The books I have read for Blackathon were so good, so I do want to go ahead and do that. And I do also want to do an Owl Crate unboxing at some point. But for today, I thought I would do something very simple that doesn't require me to be on camera a lot, just because I feel terrible and I look terrible. I don't look very good. But that is an unboxing and review of the Star Spinner Tarot, which I very much enjoy tarot decks. I love reading tarot. And normally, I know that this is not a tarot channel or anything like that. However, I have heard that this deck, the Star Spinner Tarot, has a great deal of fairy tale references in it, which is what kind of attracted my attention to it in the first place. I feel like I've said on this channel before that I very much love fairy tales and folklore. It's one of my areas of specialization as a scholar. And if I do start coughing, please bear with me. So the Star Spinner Tarot, I have heard, has a great deal of references to, I believe, the Grimm's brothers and to Hans Christian Andersen, which makes me really excited. Initially, when I saw that this deck was on pre-order, I was initially interested in it, and then I put it down and took it out of my wish list just because I have other decks that have this kind of whimsical, kind of almost like anime style to them. And one of the big draws for this deck, also in addition to the fairy tale references, was the fact that it is extremely or at least supposed to be gender and LGBTQ inclusive, which always attracts me in a tarot deck. But I had other decks that were kind of similar to this. However, the more art was released, the more I saw about the ways in which this deck was trying to be LGBTQ inclusive, the more I started to want it. So I went ahead and pre-ordered it. One of the interesting things about it, as far as, wait, let me see. I know there's a detail here somewhere that talks about that. Yeah. One of the ways in which this deck is supposed to be LGBTQ inclusive is that it includes multiple lovers cards with different arrangements of lovers and their gender presentations in the card. So I'm excited to see those. So I went ahead and picked this up. It was published by, it was not Lo Scarabeo. Box is too nice. Chronicle Books. And it does come in a nice sturdy deck box, which I really love this kind of style. It's one of the ones that slides out, except I can't get it because oh, actually it's not. It's one of the really nice ones that has a nice little lid that opens and closes like that, which I always prefer these kinds of boxes. Oh my goodness. Sorry, look at the box detail. Oh, that's so beautiful. So the box is incredibly nice and has this gorgeous kind of fold-out detail. Is this something extra, or is this just kind of to help pad? I think this is just to kind of help pad and keep the cards in place. That's gorgeous. So the box is very sturdy. It has this beautiful kind of storybook fold-out, which I'm already really loving the art style, which I had the feeling I would. I always prefer these kind of hard boxes to just regular paper tuck boxes. So boxes like this. This is another new deck I just picked up that I might do a review for. I'm not sure yet. I hate tuck boxes. They're so flimsy, and this is so nice. I cannot get over how gorgeous this inlay is. So this runs about $24.95. I didn't pay that. Obviously, I did get it on Amazon for a lot less. I did do the release day pre-order, which is why I have it in my hands. It just came out today. Look at the Fool. He's already so bright and colorful. And again, when I was looking at this, I initially wasn't going to pick it up just because I have other decks that have this kind of very colorful, whimsical fairy tale style. Things like the Alstara Tarot and a couple other decks I have on pre-order. I've been really terrible this year about buying tarot decks. But I was intrigued by when people told me that there were Grimm brothers and Andersen fairy tale, Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale references in this deck. Predominantly because I was very interested in the combination of those fairy tale references with this kind of very anime style. And that's because my first exposure to the Grimm's brothers and to several Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales was actually was animation. I think for all of us it's usually animation, usually Disney, right? However, when I was little, and this is how old I am, when I was very little, Nickelodeon and Nick Jr. used to have this really wonderful Grimm's Brothers anime TV show on in the morning that was kind of serialized, and every episode was a different fairy tale from the Grimms. Oh, I loved that show. And it's just this huge nostalgia kick for me. So to have a combination, like a deck that combines this kind of really soft, sweet anime style with fairy tales, I'm here for it. So I'm going to stop blabbing and go ahead and open up the deck. Ooh, a little piece of glue came out. All right, so it is a really gorgeous box again. It has the ribbon, so you can very easily pop them in and out. God, it's such a nice box. Like every surface is just covered with art. It's very, very sturdy. Love that. I love boxes I can actually use as like to keep them in and to display. Ones that come in like really terrible tuck boxes, I usually just put away in bags. All right, so there's our box. And here's our little book that it comes with. A Guide to the Star Spinner Tarot by Trungles, published by Chronicle Books. So this is a very nice, so as you can see, if you're familiar with tarot decks, this is much nicer than your basic like little white book that comes. Has instructions for reading and for different spreads, how to do a Celtic cross, and the major arcana. Okay, so each card has its own page. The illustrations, or I guess the reprintings of the cards are in black and white, not color, which that doesn't matter hugely to me, and does give both upright and reversal meanings. So this is a really nice book. Coins, yeah, it goes through all the suites and I'm starting to get glimpses of the card art and I'm getting very, very excited. All right, okay, I'm gonna start looking through this, but it's a little paperback book. It's a really nice book. It's sturdier than your average little white book, so I'm very happy with that as well. Put that there with my box. And now, last but not least, of course, we have the deck itself, which cardstock feels pretty nice. It is on the thinner side. However, I don't mind that. I like thinner cardstock because it shuffles easier, as long as it's not like, you know, garbage thin. This is not. This feels like really nice. It's sturdy but thin, if that makes sense. And the illustrations are just, the colors are very vivid. They're very bright. Here's the backs, which I love. I'm such a sucker for nice card backs. I don't know why. I love tarot decks partially as one, like a tool for reading, but also just because they're such beautiful aesthetic objects. So the back of a deck always is kind of important to me. And these are so pretty and whimsical. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip through our deck. I'm trying to decide the best way to do this. Let me scooch the box right there and then hold each card up. I'm going to go through all of the cards and probably geek out over all the fairy tale references that I've heard are in this deck. I feel like I think somebody mentioned that the Little Mermaid is in this deck, which I love Little Mermaid. All right, so we have the Fool, which is very pretty. We have the Magician, who is very cute. He reminds me of Gimli from Lord of the Rings. I kind of dig that. So the Magician card, he looks like Gimli. He has all his tools in hand, so that's really good. Sorry, I had technical difficulties there for just a second. Hopefully the camera is not now sick too. So next is the High Priestess card. And she's so cute and pretty. I always really like the High Priestess card. It's one of the cards in a tarot deck that if I don't like the High Priestess, I tend to not like the deck very much. The same goes for the Strength card. I know every tarot aficionado kind of has cards that are kind of not even special to them, but just that, like, if you don't vibe with them, you just can't really vibe with the deck. The Empress, she's so cute. Oh my god. So this deck is supposed to be gender and LGBTQ inclusive. It's also supposed to be very inclusive towards different races and different body types, which is also something that really attracted me to it. I really enjoy that in a tarot deck. I have a couple tarot decks that I had nasty surprises with how uninclusive they were, and I don't use those decks anymore. They're not really in circulation for me as reading tools now. So this is going to be a really, I can already tell, such a fun deck. Our Emperor. The colors on these are just so vibrant. I really enjoy that. I'm really happy I did pick this up because, again, because I have the Ostara and a couple other whimsical fairy tale decks, I wasn't sure if I wanted this, but those are much more, I feel, soft watercolors, pastels, and these are very vibrant and bold. There's the Hierophant. And here we come to the Lovers cards. Now, again, this deck is supposed to have multiple Lovers cards to be LGBTQ and gender inclusive, so I'm interested to see that. All right, here's our first Lovers card, which, that's interesting. That one's very like a kind of a traditional Lovers card with a female and male presenting person alongside the apple and the angel, so it's very reminiscent of Adam and Eve. So it does have that kind of tinge of Judeo-Christian mythology, if that, you know, if that blows your dress up in a Lover's card. So this is, I feel, probably the most traditional. I mean, I haven't seen the others, so I don't know. Maybe not. But this one is a very kind of straightforward Lover's card, I feel. And then our second one is two male presenting people. I like that one a lot, with all the little red orchids. Yeah, I love that one very, very much. This is one of the ones that I saw preview art for, and I was like, I think I have to get this deck. All right, the third, oh, that's so pretty. Oh, I really love, again, some of the bodies are male presenting or female presenting, but they're also very gender fluid, which I really like. And I know some people who read tarot, they really prefer to have this kind of, you know, a distinct male energy and a distinct female energy, both in their decks. I'm not really like that as far as my decks go. I do have decks that are all male or all female or are kind of ambiguous. Let's just say non-binarist. Is how I prefer to look at it. Because I think masculine energy and feminine energy has really nothing to do with, you know, sex, but anyway, now I'm going to go off into my queer studies rant. But I do like, I like how kind of ambiguous this one is. And then we have two female presenting people. Again, you see how, like, some of the details are kind of rendered more ambiguous, that there is nudity, but there's no nipples or genitals. I kind of like that here. I think that's interesting. So there are four, right? Yeah, four. The next one is the Chariot. I don't know. I think the two in the middle are my favorites, but they're all so gorgeous. I'm glad that the most traditional one is my least favorite. This is still stunningly beautiful, and I do like it a lot. I just thought these three are just more unusual as far as Lovers cards go, and racially inclusive, and just, oh, the art is so pretty. I just love the art on this one. This is so gorgeous. And yeah, the art definitely has this kind of, especially like late 80s, early 90s anime vibe, especially like fairy tale anime. It reminds me very much of the Grimm's fairy tale show I was talking about that used to be aired on Nickelodeon, and also a couple other anime fairy tale films that I had as a child. I watched a lot of fairy tale anime as a baby. It's kind of funny. I think that was my first exposure to anime and to a lot of those fairy tales. So the chariot. It's a very interesting interpretation of the chariot. I like the kitties. That's interesting. And fortitude instead of strength. See, I like that very much as a strength card. I really hate strength cards where like the woman is wrestling the lion or like hurting the lion or dominating the lion in some way. I feel like it totally fundamentally misses the point of the strength card, that's not really the kind of strength that we're talking about. And so I think to call this fortitude makes a lot of sense. And she's so beautiful with her lotus flower in her hand. You have the hermit. That's very cool. I like this deck a lot, you guys. Ooh. The Wheel of Fate in lieu of the Wheel of Fortune. That's very interesting. So there's definitely a mix so far of, I've seen touches of Judeo-Christian mythology, definitely a lot of Eastern mythological and religious influences in this deck. And definitely has that kind of anime fairy tale vibe that I like. There's Justice. Oh God, the colors on these are just so gorgeous. They're so vibrant. The Hanged Man. He's cute. I like that he's waving. Just, hey, what's up? I like that it really kind of drives home the point that like the Hanged Man, right, is not necessarily in distress, that he kind of put himself in that position. Oh my God. Okay, this might be my favorite card so far. This is the Death card. That's so beautiful with the butterflies as like a symbol of resurrection. Because the thing about the Death card in tarot, if you're not super familiar with tarot, which I imagine if you're watching this video, you probably are, but if you're one of my curious subscribers who just happened to come in here, the Death card is not just about death, right? Oops. It's not just about like endings. It's also about rebirth. So to have this woman with this kind of void universe in her cloak holding a baby is great with these butterflies as a symbol of resurrection. So I really, really like that a lot. That's really beautiful. And Temperance. Oh, that's so pretty. I like that my iPhone is trying to pick up their faces. It's doing facial recognition. So that's really beautiful. The Devil. That one's really interesting. This is what I was talking about, of these kind of touches of Judeo-Christian mythology, because I like that the devil here looks more like Lucifer than, you know, the more kind of satanic figure that we usually get in tarot decks, which obviously a satanic figure is also Judeo-Christian, but I like devil cards that have, I don't know, that are a little less obvious and do look a little bit more like Lucifer. This actually kind of looks like Crowley from Good Omens, which I'm kind of loving for obvious reasons. But I do like this very much as a devil card. The devil card's another card that I tend to gravitate towards, or be at least interested in what they chose to do with the art. So I do like that. The Tower. It's a very straightforward towered card. It's very pretty, but pretty straightforward. The Star. Oh, that's so beautiful with the ibis bird. Oh, God, this deck really, like, the art is really stunning. Oh, the Moon. I love this for the Moon with the white rabbit, Usagi. That's so cute. I love this so much. It's such a kind of, going to be an anime nerd, like a Sailor Moon kind of card. Again, Usagi is here. That's such a brilliant, I'm really loving how inclusive this deck is, not just like the ways in which I expected it to be, but also the ways it's inclusive of world mythology. Like, I'm really vibing with this deck a lot, which is good. Because some decks I don't vibe with. The Sun. It's beautiful. These cards are so beautiful. Judgment. We have this angel sounding the horn. Probably Gabriel's horn. Ooh, I like this one too. So this World card. Okay, a couple of things about this I really like. One, I love her shape. like, hi. And I really like that the four corners are like, almost looks like four different races, so like the four corners of the globe all coming together, which I like that so much better than the normal world card. In a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck, the four corners are these different kind of arcane symbols, but to me, I can never look at the world card without laughing because it just reminds me of like the four Hogwarts houses or something. There's like an eagle, a lion, I think a bull, which that can be Hufflepuff, and then there's like a blonde twink, which he can be Slytherin, obviously. Hi, Draco. But that's what I always think about when I look at the world card. So this is a really nice change. I think this is a really beautiful world card. All right, so now we're going into the suits. The first suit that's up is the Suit of Wands. So nice, straightforward Suit of Wands card, very traditional Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. This definitely, again, it's not a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, but the imagery is very reminiscent of the Rider-Waite-Smith, if that is the tarot system that you're used to working with, which is my preferred system, obviously. Not obviously, but honestly is what I meant to say. Rider-Waite-Smith tends to be my preferred system, so I am really liking that these follow that system and that they are scenic, which is great, that this is not a pip deck, because that was not a concern with this deck, but I do like some pip decks, but in a deck like this, with this kind of art, like to have a pip deck in the suits would just be so silly. And if you're not familiar, pips, when we talk about tarot decks or any kind of deck of cards, we talk about pip cards. That just means that, like, instead of having a scene that would help you read or interpret the Two of Wands, it would just literally be like just the two wands. So similar to like a deck of playing cards where it's like 8 of hearts and there's just 8 hearts and there's no picture or illustration to kind of help you read it. In some decks, I don't mind being pips, but a deck like this I would not want as a pip deck. She's so cute. That's 2 of Wands. 3 of Wands, which is giving me major Over the Garden Wall vibes. So far the wands are all yellow, which is interesting. The 4 of Wands. I love these little fairies. Yeah, we're starting to get really hardcore into fairy tale imagery here. The 5 of Wands. Oh, I love her wings. And the 6. Oh, and 7. So that's so cute for 7 of Wands. That's Peter Pan. Like, right? It's Peter Pan. Like, which I really love is 7 of Wands. 7 of Wands is about, you know, like standing up and like taking a stand and being kind of combative. And that's definitely Peter. Peter's such a little... Well, I was going to say a word that will get this video demonetized, but he's such a brat. Let's say that. Peter Pan is such a little brat. I really like this card though. I love Peter and Wendy. It's one of my favorite. It was one of my favorite childhood books. So this is making me really happy. The 8 of Wands. So again, that sense of speed and moving forward. See, this is what I mean. Would be more like, it's not a pip card, but kind of more of a pip card. Just kind of, you know, just 8 of Wands. Which is, this, even in the Rider-Waite-Smith, is kind of what the 8 of Wands looks like. So that doesn't bother me too much. 9 of Wands. So this is how I feel right now. Really, that just like I've been fighting for such a long time and I just gotta keep on moving, and it's really hard when you're just so pooped out. And 10 of Wands, that's really cute. Growing our little plants. They're all coming to fruition. All right. So the Page of Wands. Again, this very intensely Peter Pan-like imagery, which I'm really, really enjoying. So there's our page. Ooh. There's our knight. I like that a lot. That's very Thumbelina, right? Oh, I like that a lot. So our Knight of Wands. Ooh. Queen of Wands. I like that very much. Like, even though she has fairy wings, it's obviously not Beauty and the Beast. This reminds me of Beauty and the Beast very much. Which Beauty and the Beast is like my favorite fairy tale of all time, probably. I just keep coming back to it again and again. So that reminds me very much of Beauty and the Beast, which makes me a happy girl. Even like her dress, right? This golden dress with like the red roses. So that it's probably deliberate on the artist's part, I'm sure. Which in most, in a lot of, especially Victorian illustrations of Beauty and the Beast is usually depicted as some kind of lion. Even though like Disney's Beast is honestly like my favorite. Just the art design on his character is my favorite representation of the Beast. And then here's the King of Wands. There's a crow on the... I like this very much. I'm interested that that it was so boldly like yellow and pink up to this point, and then the king is in a very different color palette. He suddenly is blue, which is interesting. But, so our king. All right, sorry, I had a coughing fit and thought I wouldn't make you have to listen to it, but I'm really excited because the next suit is the Suit of Cups. The Suit of Cups is usually my favorite suit in any tarot deck. I'm an earth sign, but I always respond to the cups, which are the Suit of Water, just because I grew up by the beach, so any kind of water imagery always kind of gets me geeked, and oh, am I geeked. Because look at her. Like, that is hardcore Little Mermaid imagery. She's so cute. With her moon and her little seagull. We're going to call him Scuttle. So this is the Ace of Chalices. The cups are the chalices in this deck. Oh, so cute. So, very Little Mermaid. So I'm hoping the rest of the suit will follow suit, I guess. That was stupid. I'm tired. Sorry. Ooh, Two of Cups. We stand Sapphic Mermaids. Oh my god. This card is so good. So we have our two mermaids locked in a romantic embrace for the Two of Cups. That's really beautiful and perfect. I love that a lot. All right. Three of Cups. We have our three mermaids together. So pretty. Oh, and which color change? Four of Cups. Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, no, this is absolutely just Little Mermaid. Her sitting here sad with the castle on the horizon. Oh, man. The suit is gorgeous so far. I'm so loving it. Ooh, okay. Sorry, I'm getting like so geeked about this suit. Just going, ooh, that's so... Oh, what a cool card. What a good card. Okay, so this is the Five of Cups. Five of Cups is usually about grief. This is so perfect. So if you're not familiar with the Hans Christian Andersen version of The Little Mermaid, which is a downer, it's a downer. This is the scene towards the end where the prince has fallen in love with someone else. And the Little Mermaid realizes that, you know, her mission has failed. The prince doesn't love her. She's going to die. And in the original story, when mermaids die, they don't have souls, so they turn into sea foam. So she's kind of terrorized by this idea of just, you know, complete oblivion. And so the night that the prince marries this other woman, this princess, her sisters, who you can see here, appear to her on the deck of the ship and offer her a knife that they got from the sea witch, that they traded their hair for this knife, and tell her that if you take this knife and stab the prince and his blood gets on your legs, you can turn back into a mermaid and you don't have to die. And you can come home and be with us again. And so this is an illustration of that moment, of the moment where the sisters are, you know, offering her this choice that you can come home and be with us. And it's kind of an impossible choice for her, because she does take the knife and ultimately she goes and stands over the prince who's laying there asleep with his wife in his arms, and she can't do it. She just loves him too much. She can't do it. And so she throws the knife into the sea and then throws herself into the sea after it. And because she sacrifices herself instead of taking his life to save her own, she's granted an immortal soul and gets to go to heaven, which for Hans Christian Andersen, like, that is a happy ending, right? That instead of total oblivion, you get to find peace in paradise forever. Which, okay. The story is a downer. It's very bittersweet, but, I don't know. I guess I would take eternal bliss over a man too. So I guess it's not that sad. But this is that moment of the mermaid realizing her mission has failed and being offered this terrible choice. So that is such a cool card, and I am geeking out over it. It's really perfect. I love that so much. Man, this whole deck is just, this whole suit is like, and just the Little Mermaid being illustrated. So we have the Six of Cups. It's our Little Mermaid fawning over the statue of, we'll just call him Eric. It's easier. Over Eric, longing to be with him. These cards. The Seven of Chalices, which that's really perfect and beautiful. And Little Mermaid is such a great story for the Seven of Chalices, which is all about, the grass being greener on the other side and having so many choices and not knowing that one of those choices may be, not what you wanted. Be careful what you wish for, etc., etc. So yeah, Little Mermaid is great that she's down here in the sea dreaming about being up on the land. I like that a lot. This is my favorite suit. It's probably going to just be my favorite suit, period. Because I love Little Mermaid. There's Eight of Cups. So there she is with her legs. Oh, this is such a beautiful suit. Huh. Well, this one is really interesting. So we have Nine of Cups, which I guess it's not totally breaking away from the Little Mermaid illustrated theme. It's interesting because to me the first thing that comes to mind is Swan Lake, which also not a super happy story about a girl pining for a man who in the end kind of goofs it and then she dies because of him. It also really reminds me of The Red Shoes, which is another Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale. See the red ballet slippers. So this is really interesting. Nine of Chalices or Cups is usually a card that's about, like achieving something and enjoying that moment of achievement. So on the surface, this is kind of an interesting card because it's like a prima ballerina, dancing her solo. And so that makes sense to me. But because of the fairy tale imagery in this deck, I think it has a shadow meaning here. Because again, Odette and the Little Mermaid and Karen in the Red Shoes, all of them get what they want momentarily, right? This card is really emphasizing the kind of ephemeral nature of like this peak, right? And so you could interpret this as the Little Mermaid dancing for the prince, which if you're familiar in the original fairy tale, the Little Mermaid loves to dance for the prince every night. And part of the condition of her curse is that every step she takes feels like knives in her feet, that it's just agony, but she enjoys dancing for him all the same. I'm going to have to just like sit with this card for a while, I think. I do like it. I like that there is this kind of shadow reading of it, or that you can make a shadow reading of it, because it helps kind of differentiate it, I feel, from the Ten of Cups, which is also about achievement and happy endings. And this is much more, I think that this card really emphasizes like the ephemeral nature of success and enjoying that moment of achievement rather than like a long lasting happy ending, right? So I really like this card. This is very interesting to me. Oh, that's sad. Okay, so this is the Ten of Cups, which is about happy endings and long-term happiness and domestic bliss. So like I was saying, the Hans Christian Andersen version of The Little Mermaid, the prince does choose someone else. So we do have him here with his new wife. So they're living their own happily ever after, right? They're living in their own fairy tale, right? So they have the domestic bliss that's usually associated with the Ten of Cups, whereas our Little Mermaid is kind of here on the outside looking in. But you can see she has angel wings. So like I was saying, that for Hans Christian Andersen, the ending of The Little Mermaid is not an unhappy one, because she doesn't get the guy, but she gets something better, which is immortality, paradise. She gets to go to heaven, which for Andersen is really important. So I love this as a Ten of Cups. It's so sad, but I do really like this a lot. That's really gorgeous and makes my heart twinge. All right, so our Page of Chalices, we have the Little Mermaid looking at this pup. Oh, how cute. I love this deck, you guys. I'm so happy with it. I'm glad I ended up picking it up, because it's not similar to anything else I have, the way I thought that it was. The Knight of Cups, who looks like Eric. So our prince from The Little Mermaid, I'm just going to call him Eric again, who's kind of perfect as the Knight of Cups, right? That the Knight of Cups is all about, he's a romantic, and sometimes too romantic, overly romantic, not very rational. And that's definitely Eric. I feel that he's so determined to find this girl who saved him. And she's standing right in front of him and he doesn't realize it. He's just such a far-flung romantic and a fool. I'm not mad at Eric. Like, I don't really, he falls in love with someone else and it's just like that sometimes, you know? And there's the Queen of Cups. That's gorgeous and very interesting. With all the whales. This almost makes me think of Sedna in Inuit mythology, if you're familiar at all. Sedna is a goddess in Inuit mythology. She's like this kind of sea mother from which all of the mammals of the sea sprang. So whales and seals and things like that. Walruses, which obviously are an important source of life and nourishment to the Inuit. Also a very dark, unhappy fairy tale. Yeah, Sedna has a rough. I won't even get into it because I've already been rambling on too long. But this does remind me a lot of Sedna with her whales. So I really like that very much as like a Queen of Cups. That's very interesting. I also like her kind of holding the boat aloft right out of this kind of maelstrom is very interesting. I like that. What? Ooh, that's interesting. So King of Cups is a Chinese dragon. A Chinese water dragon. That's very cool too. I love this suit, you guys. I think they're really going to have to work hard for this to not be my favorite suit. I don't know what the next two suits look like, but this is really just nailing me right in my good vibes. I love that. All right, so the next suit is Swords, or the Air suit. It's a very standard Rider-Waite-Smith suit of Ace of Swords. Like that. Two of Swords. It's very pretty. Three of Swords. This one's kind of disappointing. This is a very, very standard Rider-Waite-Smith Three of Swords, which is kind of boring. In a deck like this, there's so many fairy tales that you could have to represent heartbreak. Like, especially after how emotionally racking the Suit of Cups was. Like, it's not, there's nothing wrong with the art. Like, it's still very pretty. It's just kind of like, I don't know, plain compared to everything else. It's just a missed opportunity, maybe. But again, I'm nitpicking because this deck is gorgeous. Four of Swords. Oh, I like this so much. So Four of Swords is about, taking a rest, the need to recuperate, which it usually in the Rider-Waite-Smith system does depict a man laying flat in a tomb. And that's sometimes kind of confusing because, again, it's about recuperation and taking a rest. It's not about death. But here you can see this kind of glass coffin, which is very reminiscent of course, Snow White. The roses are very reminiscent of Sleeping Beauty. So that she's in stasis, she's in a coma, but she's not dead, right? That she will, when the time is right, be resurrected. So that's very, very cool. I love that. That's a great fairy tale interpretation. It's Five of Swords. It's interesting. It almost looks like Nike. Getting, after a battle, pulling swords out of skulls. I like that a lot. I love Nike so much. I love Greek mythology. All right, Six of Swords. That's really beautiful and perfect. Doesn't call any specific fairy tale or myth to mind. I mean, it calls a lot of them to mind. I mean, I feel like this is very kind of, I don't know, universal imagery in this card. Leaving something behind. Seven of Swords, so treachery. Again, very universal. Not anything particular is jumping to mind. Do like it very much. That's very interesting. Eight of Swords. Is she a harpy? Because because at first I thought she was an angel like the rest, but then she has a tail and like these claw-like feet, like a harpy. Huh. That's interesting. I feel like she's blindfolded. I feel like there's a blindfolded harpy in Renaissance art. I think it represents justice, maybe. I mean, it's interesting. This kind of makes me think of The Last Unicorn. And Mommy Fortuna's Circus of Oddities with the harpy Seleno, who she's keeping in a cage. And Eight of Swords is very much about being in captivity, but it's captivity that if you really wanted to escape it, you could. It's about being in a terrible situation that it's like you need to stop being a victim and break out of this mindset and free yourself, basically. And in The Last Unicorn, the harpy Seleno, there's always this talk about like one day she's going to escape. It's understood that you can't hold a harpy, which no, you can't. I'm trying to think. I can't think of in the Aeneid even if there's any moment with a blindfolded harpy, but I do feel like that there is a blindfolded harpy in Renaissance art, like as a motif, which I'll look that up, and if there is, I'll put it in the side here. But that's very cool. I like that. There is a Last Unicorn tarot deck that I want so bad, but it's so expensive. I really, really love The Last Unicorn a lot. So Nine of Swords, which is anxiety, which is perfect, this kind of night terror. I feel like there's a Japanese, is that in Kaidan? I don't know. I feel like there is some kind of Japanese spirit or ghoul who stands on your chest and gives you nightmares, but I could be wrong. But it's definitely very representative of like the feeling of night terrors and nightmares, so I like that. All right, Ten of Swords. That's really great. I love that. So we have a phoenix stuck through with the swords, which Ten of Swords is about like an ending, put a fork in it, it's over, it's done. But I like that it's a phoenix, right? Because again, it's not a card about death. It's not a card about, it is about an ending, that this is a total ending, but there is always going to be a what happens next after any kind of ending, right? So that's really, really cool. Again, it's very simple, but rich with meaning, which is why, again, like the Three of Swords is kind of disappointing because it doesn't have to be overly complicated to be symbolically rich. All right, there's our Page of Swords. This butterfly is very cute. Like that, reaching out to the air and the butterfly. Ooh, our Knight of Swords. She looks very ferocious. I love that. Oh, interesting. Queen of Swords. She has a snake and rose petals coming out of her mouth. So there's several fairy tales about princesses and maidens having like diamonds and rose petals coming out of their mouth. As like they'll meet a good witch and the witch will like reward their goodness and kindness and beauty by like that, oh, every time you speak petals and jewels will fall from your mouth. The snake makes me think this is supposed to be Biancabella, which is an Italian variation of that kind of story type, which the snake is her sister and she speaks with the snake. I'm going to assume that this is Biancabella, which I really love having a black princess and Biancabella. Like, I think that's very subversive and brilliant. Oh, that's gorgeous. I love that. Ooh, how sweet. And then our King of Swords is a golden songbird. I like that. Again, very simple, but I like that very much. I'm interested that the kings have all been animals so far. Right? Yeah, this is a songbird. The King of Cups was a Chinese dragon. And the King of Wands was a crow. So I think that's very interesting to have an animal figure as the king of each suit. I kind of dig that. All right, and now our last suit is the suit of coins, which is a suit I also really do enjoy. I really like earthy things, earthy suits, earthy decks. I think most of my decks that I vibe with tend to be either like earth decks or water decks, I feel. And the pentacles, excuse me, coins are the suit of earth, the Hufflepuff of the tarot. All right, so there's our Ace of Coins. So pretty standard, like that. Ooh, our Two of Coins, which is about balance. I like this very much. I like the the kind of subtle flow and balance and kind of infinite flow here. That's just kind of, I mean, it's not, what's the word I want? Say I'm coughing and now I'm losing my mind. I really like that it feels so naturally flowy, and that there's a kind of inherent almost infinity to that flow. And I was going to say inherent, but obviously like it's deliberate on the artist's part, but it looks very kind of understated and natural, and I like that very much. It's very pretty. Ooh, 3 of coins. Looks like Aladdin with our djinn. I love that. I love that it's reversible. Oh, that's so cool. That's so, so cool. So coins looks like it's green so far. Ooh, okay. So 4 of coins. Looks like Rapunzel. It also looks like Sita from the Ramayana, which is, both of those are really great representations for 4 of coins. 4 of coins is about conserving your riches, or sometimes hoarding your riches, and both Rapunzel and Sita, right, are stashed away in a tower by somebody who wants to kind of hoard them as though they were valuable material objects, and both Rapunzel and Sita are kind of waiting for their handsome prince to come rescue them. I kind of like that. I like that it's reminiscent of both Rapunzel and the Ramayana. Again, I feel like this deck really kind of understands and is playing with the kind of universality of fairy tale and folklore, and I really, really like that. That's so beautiful. Oh, I am geeked. Okay, 5 of coins. That is so perfect. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just so geeked because it's the Snow Queen, and I love the Snow Queen so much. And interestingly, my first exposure to the Snow Queen was a piece of Soviet animation from the 1950s. Again, what I like about this deck is that my exposure, and I feel exposure for a lot of us to these fairy tales, comes first through animation. And not just Disney, but also anime and Soviet animation and all kinds of avenues. And my first exposure to the Snow Queen was through a beautiful piece of Soviet animation from, I think, 1957, I want to say. And it's so faithful to Hans Christian Andersen's original story, unlike some animated versions of the Snow Queen that I could mention that I don't particularly care for. It's the original story intact. It has like a predominantly female cast. It's gorgeous. I think you can probably find it on YouTube for free with either subtitles or dubbed. I recommend subtitles always, just because the dubbed versions kind of vary in quality. This is really tough, you guys. Like, so far the Suit of Coins and the Suit of Cups are my favorite. I can't tell which is my favorite yet because I'm not all the way through the coins, but that makes me really happy because cups and coins tend to be my favorite suits in a tarot deck anyway. Oh, that's so perfect. All right, we have 6 of coins. That's interesting. She reminds me very much of a Thumbelina from an anime version of Thumbelina I watched as a child. But there's strawberries, there's a broom, and then she has this dress. I feel like this is a reference to, oh, what is that story called? It's a story from the Grimms, and it's about a little girl with a wicked stepmother, because they always have wicked stepmothers, right? Who sends her out in a paper dress into the snow to find strawberries. I think it's 3 Little Men in the Wood, or 3 Little Men of the Woods, or something like that. I'll confirm in the sidebar. And so she goes out into the snow in her paper dress, knowing that this is a fool's errand and that she's going to freeze to death, which is the stepmother's intent. But then she comes across this cabin with these 3 little men inside, and she's kind to them, and breaks bread with them and helps them with their chores, like the good little domestic goddess that all women are supposed to be in 19th century fairy tales, little goddess, angel of the house, right? And as a reward, they give her strawberries so that she's able to take them back to her mother. And in addition to that, they bless her with this ability that every time she speaks, coins fall out of her mouth. Again, that's always such a thing in fairy tales. And then the stepmother like gets really jealous and sends the stepsister to the three little men, but then the stepsister is like rude and nasty, and like the three little men don't give her anything and curse her with like toads come out of her mouth. Again, this shows up in like, I can think of at least 5 or 6 fairy tales. I think it's Three Little Men in the Woods, which that's so obscure. But for the Six of Coins, which is about charity, that makes perfect sense. It's just such an obscure fairy tale. That's really cool. I like that a lot. 7 of Coins. Oh, the 7. Oh, okay. So this is a reference to the 6 swans, which is another Grimm's Brother fairy tale. It's a fairy tale that I, again, also had my first exposure to through anime, through the Grimm's Brothers animated show on Nickelodeon. Oh, this is such a great card. Wow. Okay, so in this fairy tale, there's a wicked stepmother, because there always is. There's a wicked stepmother who has a stepdaughter and 6 stepsons, and she effectively like murders their father and turns the 6 boys into swans. But the daughter escapes. And the daughter realizes that the only way to save her brothers is that she has to knit them 6 cloaks out of nettles, and she has to stay silent completely for 6 years. And so it becomes this story about like self-sacrifice, and the stepmother keeps sabotaging her and putting her in these life-threatening situations where she needs to be able to speak up and defend herself, but she knows that if she does speak up, her brothers will all die. And so it becomes about being this kind of self-sacrificing woman, again, a big trend in 19th century fairy tales, being a self-sacrificing woman to try to protect her brothers. And I always really loved this story as a little girl, because I have a brother. I like any kind of fairy story in which self-sacrificing love is not romantic, because she, again, is willing to sacrifice herself. She's willing to sacrifice her romantic relationship with her husband. She's willing to sacrifice everything to save her brother's lives. And I just think that's really, really special. I'm so happy to see. This is a really great card for 7 of Coins too. So I'm happy to see this fairy tale represented here. Again, it was one of my favorite episodes of that show. I loved it. This is interesting. So 8 of Coins. So that's interesting. That's a more contemporary card of him looking at these 8 different clocks. Huh. Like that. It's interesting. It's a very interesting, strange contemporary break in the middle of all of this. Okay, we got our 9 of Coins. So we have our woman with a bird. Here, a big, beautiful white owl. That's gorgeous. I love this deck. Is so great. It's so colorful and perfect. And then our 10 of Coins is again another happy ending card. Sitting here in financial security, a man and his dog. I kind of like that it's a man and his dog. Usually it's like a family. I like that it's just him and his dog. That kind of pleases me. Okay, now our court cards. So Page of Coins. That's interesting. She's almost like a jazz age woman. I like that. All right, Knight of Coins. Very nice. Oh, how sweet. Queen of Coins, which is her embracing this rabbit in this big, beautiful yellow ball gown. Again, anytime I see big yellow ball gown embracing an animal, I always think of Beauty and the Beast, but that's super, super cute with the rabbit. Oh, yeah. And our King of Coins is a white rabbit, so that is actually kind of vaguely Beauty and the Beast, like, I feel. Like, if he's our King of Coins, look how cute he is. He looks so grouchy. Now I'm just, like, living for a version of Beauty and the Beast where he's just, like, a fluffy white rabbit. Just a very ill-tempered white rabbit. All right, so, whoops, there she is. Final thoughts. I'm really happy with this deck. I'm really glad I picked it up. It's not like anything else I have. Again, I was basing that kind of on the art style, but because of the really wonderful mythological references, it's not like anything else I have. And I really vibe with this deck, and I could easily see this deck becoming one of my favorite decks to work with, just because Oh, the fairy tale imagery here is like on point, A plus. And again, I'm surprised and delighted that again it's drawing on so many different world mythological traditions, that there's a little bit of Greek mythology in there, there's Western fairy tales, there's Eastern philosophy and Eastern mythology, there's some Inuit mythology, there's like the Ramayana. Like there's so much here. And again, even the references to the Grimms and Hans Christian Andersen, like some of those are really obscure. Like Three Little Men in the Wood and Bianca Bella and things like that are like for like a Western tradition of fairy tales, like in the West, those are stories that are not really well known outside of like fairy tale scholar circles. Because right, obviously, like the fairy tales that everybody knows tend to be like the Disney adaptations. Like those tend to be the fairy tales that everybody knows. But anyway, so that was the Star Spinner Tarot. If you love tarot and you love fairy tales, I highly recommend picking this up. It is a gorgeous deck. Super well made. Cardstock is great. Everything is beautiful. The colors are vibrant. This box kills me how gorgeous this box is and well constructed this box is. And again, wonderful little white book. That is definitely a step up from your average little white book. So I'm very happy with this purchase. I'm delighted with it. I think it's wonderful. So I will see you guys next time, hopefully soon. Again, I want to come back and do my February wrap up in March for Blackathon. I also have an Owl Crate box I need to unbox. By the time I finally get around to unboxing it, I feel like I'll probably have 2 to unbox for you guys. And thank you for being patient with me. Again, it's been a really rough 2 weeks, and I'm hopefully starting to get back up on my feet. Like my fever's broken. I just still have this nagging cough that I'm trying to shake, and hopefully being self-isolated will allow me to do that. So, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.